If you struggle because you know this pentatonic box shape, you know a few triads up and down the neck, you know some bar chords, but you're really struggling to make your guitar playing stand out, this lesson is for you. On today's lesson, I'm going to share with you what most guitar players get wrong about playing their chords, and hint, it's not what you think. If this is the first time we're meeting, my name is Alec Lehrman. I've played on Grammy-nominated recordings, and I've taught thousands of students the lesson I'm going to teach you here today. And if you like what we're discussing here today, there's a link below so that we can work together one-on-one. Now, what you're going to learn today is something called a diminished chord. Now, this chord separates the amateurs from the professionals. This chord, so many professionals use, from Robin Ford to Isaiah Sharkey, and it'll help you break out of that intermediate guitar player plateau. So the plan for today is I'm going to show you how to anchor this chord to chords you already know, how to use it musically, and finally, how to use it over a backing track, okay? We're gonna start off in the key of A. So you just have to know this A bar chord, okay? And to play the most common diminished chord, it's gonna look and sound like this, okay? And let's hear how that sounds soloing and chord-wise in a bluesy backing track, and understand that just because this is blues, this is applicable to other genres as well, from gospel to R&B to neo soul. So let's take a listen. So you'll notice that this blues progression in the key of A goes A to D, and there's an E in there, 1, 4, 5, right? A, D, and E. Now, you'll notice that in the backing track, you heard a diminished chord after this 4 chord. So this A chord, and then we go to the D chord, and then you heard this. And this is just simply a diminished chord. How you can think of it in general is a way to get from a tense moment to a more relaxed moment. So this chord is so common in Ray Charles songs, in blues songs, in gospel songs. And I want to share with you the 3 most common chords, as well as how to solo over this diminished chord rather than just playing a pentatonic scale that's kind of tracing the outlines, but it's not really getting you where you want to go, okay? Now, the diminished chord, you can anchor to this A bar chord. So I see, okay, I got my A bar chord. You got your A bar chord. You take your ring finger and move it down a half step, and that's the root of your diminished chord, okay? And keep in mind, you can play this in any key. So if I moved it up here, to a C chord, and I found my ring finger, moved it down a half step, I can still play that type of diminished chord, okay? But let's go back to our home base A, okay? That is one way you can play your diminished chord. Now I'm going to show you 2 other ways, and the third way is actually the most musical. You can also, with your bar chord, find the highest note and use your pinky as the anchor, and then play this shape, okay? And what's so great about all these shapes is you can move them up and down in 3 fret intervals. You don't need to worry really about the math or the science or the theory of that. Just know that it sounds good. Okay, and here's the final chording that you need to know, and it's so musical, and once you get it, it's like it's a total showstopper, and it looks and sounds like this. So it's literally the exact same as the chord I just showed you, but what you're going to do is take off your first finger and throw it on the same fret, on the same high E string. You're just going to throw it 3 frets behind your pinky finger, okay? So it's going to look and sound like this. Pull off. And what's so great about that is you can get this really slick chord that moves, and it doesn't sound so clunky like just a stagnant chord. This chord has motion, okay? Now, let's figure out once again how to use this in context. So we're gonna have an A blues, right? We're gonna use everything in context. We go to a D, and we play this. And that's where that diminished chord comes in. You know, it's subtle, but these type of subtleties will take you from an amateur player to a professional sounding player. You know, it's really understanding all those little nuances and details that will take your playing from just stagnant and intermediate to absolutely pro level, okay? Now I wanna share with you how to solo over this chord progression. Now, you might have seen masterclasses and videos that give you all the possible options for soloing over diminished chord. And when I teach my students all the possible options, it's like a deer in the headlight. It's like there's too much information. So I'm going to share with you the most important ways to solo over diminished chord. I'm not going to share with you all the stuff that doesn't sound good. I'm going to share with you only the stuff that sounds amazing. So just like in part 1 where I showed you the 3 ways to play a chord. So 1, 2, 3. What you're gonna do is connect everything. So what you're gonna do is start in this diminished shape and just play one note at a time. And that shape is gonna look like this. Okay, slower. Okay. And that's a really, really great way to arpeggiate. And if you don't know what an arpeggio means, it literally just means to play a chord, but just one note at a time. So if I had this A bar chord, if I wanted to arpeggiate it, I would just play one note at a time. So this diminished chord, I'm just arpeggiating a diminished chord, okay? And then once I get right here, now I'm set up perfectly to do this, that little movement that you learned earlier on in this lesson, okay? So, and then, and you always want to resolve it back home because it's not just enough to know how to solo over a diminished chord because the diminished chord is always going somewhere. So you want to know where you're going and how to get there really smoothly. So what you're going to want to do is land back on this A chord. That's like you want to launch off from this chord and you want to resolve to notes in this chord. You don't want to resolve to notes in the pentatonic scale. You want to resolve to notes in this chord, okay? So let's hear how that would sound nice and slow. And keep in mind, you don't need to play all the notes that can possibly work over a diminished. What you need to do is just play a few good, pretty notes and then resolve it. So that could be as simple as this. Okay. Could be something like this. If you wanted to come down, so start high and go low, it would sound like this. Okay, and you're just literally taking the diminished chords and connecting them. Okay, it's all about visualizing the chords as well as where the chord is going to take you. In this case, it's going to take you to A major. Okay? So if this stuff is making sense to you and you want to work together one-on-one, I have an application link you can check out in the description below. Also, don't forget to download the backing track so that you can utilize all this information that we're talking about right here today on this lesson. Now, because I don't want you to ever feel lost and trapped just in one key, I'm going to share with you how you can take this information and move it to another key. So let's say now we're in the key of G. Okay, we're playing a G blues. Okay, okay? We're gonna go over everything we just went over, but in this key. So then we have C as our 4 chord, we have D as our 5 chord, and we have G, okay? But we're going to implement that diminished chord. And remember, how we can find that diminished chord is we play our G, okay? We take our ring finger and go down a half step. We have that diminished shape, okay? And then we also take the top of the G bar chord and play and anchor these shapes to the G. And finally, you can anchor this shape, the third, to a G, okay? And that's all about finding your root, top note, and putting your pinky there so you can play the chords, okay? So now, let's pretend like we're playing a blues. We're playing a blues, G blues. Okay, we come to the C. We get to our diminished chord. We can play this, and we're gonna resolve it to the G, okay? We're gonna resolve this diminished chord, the C sharp diminished, to the G, okay? And here's the thing, you don't even necessarily need to think so much about, oh, this is a C sharp diminished, okay? What you need to do is visualize looking down, how do I get out of this really tense chord, okay? And that is literally about landing on this G chord, landing on any note in that G chord, okay? So what we can do is, okay? And we can start high and go low. Okay? But the key is all about understanding how to land the trick effectively. If you ever skateboarded, my brother was a big skateboarder, you want to take off smoothly and you want to land the trick and not have it be sloppy, just like you want to have a great landing on the guitar. It's not enough just to know the scale, because it kind of leaves the listener wondering what to do next. It's not right. So you need to resolve the tension. So that is really what separates the amateurs from the pros. And you're going to hear this diminished chord all the time in music. So for instance, in John Mayer's I'm Gonna Find Another You, it's really over, you made a stain, you'll help me cry now, is what you play. And you see that diminished shape. There's so many other instances, and gospel music happens all the time. And you really want to be familiar with this chord so that you don't get caught off guard, as well as you don't feel like you're stuck only knowing major triads and bar chords and a couple pentatonics. This chord will really work on your ear because it's such a rich, rich chord, and it really will help stretch your ear. So now that you know how to play diminished chords, you're going to want to check out this video so that you can 10x your playing.